Example 1. What is the slope of a line that passes through the points -3, 1 and 7, -14? Write your answer in simplest form. So the formula for slope is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. The word for slope can be simplified to m. So I'm just going to write out my subtract signs. I'm going to label this as 0.1 and 0.2, and a lot of the confusion kids have over there, like, wow, what's with the little 2's and the little 1's? Well, that simply means we have two different points. So alphabetically, x comes before y, so I'm just going to label this xy, xy, just to remind you. And then if this is 0.1, I'm just going to put sub 1, sub 1. And if this is 0.2, I'm going to put sub 2, sub 2. And now a lot of the confusion with this formula is taken care of. I'm going to use blue for my y sub 2. So my y sub 2, as you can clearly see, is -14. So in goes -14. And I like to use parentheses when I substitute. My x sub 2 is going to be 7. After that, I'm going to switch over to green. My y sub 1 is going to be 1. And then my x sub 1, as you can see here, is -3. I'm going to take a moment to simplify the top and the bottom. First of all, this is just really -14 minus 1. So I'm just going to write -14 minus 1. In the bottom, however, you have something special going on. Right here, you have a -3. And think of this, what's a negative times a negative? Well, a negative times a negative is always a positive. So I'm just going to rewrite that as 7 plus 3. So -14 minus 1, finally, is now -15. And then 7 plus 3 is 10. And then let's see, I can divide. They did say over here that we have to simplify. I'm going to divide -15 and +10 both by the number 5 because we want to reduce it. -15 divided by 5 is -3, and then 10 divided by 5 is 2, so the simplified slope is -3 over 2. Now I want to introduce to you SlopeMan. SlopeMan has eyebrows. He has a plus sign in his left eye and a negative sign in his right eye. Then he's got a nose with the letter U underneath it, and then he has kind of like a neutral expression for his lips with zeros as, I guess you could call them, dimples. So because this is a negative slope, that would be dealing with this right here. And a negative slope simply means that as you graph a line, as it goes down and to the right, it's considered negative. And although you don't need slope, dude, to be able to figure this out, sometimes understanding the algebraic equivalent to what you see on a graph is just reinforcing. So there you go. Example 1. Example 2. Okay, so slope stands for m. We're going to go over here. I'm going to call this one 0.1. I'm going to call this 0.2. Again, xy. xy, remember alphabetically, x comes first. So if this is 0.1, I'm going to just put the sub 1, sub 1. And then sub 2, sub 2. And then I'm going to use my color coding. My y sub 2 is going to be 5. So I'm going to substitute 5 into this position. My y sub 2 is going to be 4. So I'll substitute a 4 over here. Next, switching colors, I have y sub 1. Y sub 1 is going to give me 7. And then finally, my x sub 1 is going to be 8. So I'm going to substitute 8 in here. Okay, so 5 minus 7 is what the top would simplify to. And 4 minus 8, so we would have just 4 minus 8. Kind of get rid of those parentheses. I think it cleans it up. 5 minus 7 is -2, and then 4 minus 8 is -4. First of all, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so I'm going to make that 2 over 4. And then because they're both even, I can divide the numerator and denominator by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And we find out our slope is 1/2. So which feature of the face represents a slope of 1/2? Well, that's a positive. That's going to be this. And that simply means that anytime you have a line that goes up and to the right, that's considered positive. Example 3. So again, slope stands for m. Fraction bar, got our subtract signs. I'm going to call this 0.1 and 0.2. So again, sticking with the idea that alphabetically x comes before y. Then because this is 0.1, I'm going to put a sub 1, sub 1. And then because this is 0.2, I'm going to put sub 2, sub 2. Using my blue color, my y sub 1 is -5, so in goes -5. My x sub 2 is 18, so in goes 18. Switching over to colors, -5 is y, so there's my y sub 1 is -5. It looks like we have a negative going on here. We'll deal with that in a moment. My x sub 1 is -2, so in goes -2, so it looks like you have a negative top and bottom. Okay, switching over to red, this is just going to be -5, and then this part right here where we have a -5, that's going to simplify to +5. On the bottom, I've got 18, and then similarly, this negative is going to switch to a +2. So -5 plus 5 is 0, and then 18 plus 2 is 20, and 0 over 20 is going to simplify to just 0. So looking over here, it's not positive, it's not negative. So the question is it this vertical line, this nose, or is it the horizontal line? Well, I'm going to give you a hint. Do you see the two zeros there? Anytime you have a horizontal line, it's going to have a 0 slope. So the slope is 0. This is what our answer is. But then just to represent it graphically, anytime you have a horizontal line like this, all right, horizontal. And again, that's for future use. All you had to get was just 0. All right, example 4. Again, slope is m. 0.1, 0.2, x, y, x, y. If this is 0.1, sub 1, sub 1. If this is 0.2, sub 2, sub 2. And we begin our substitution. So y sub 1 is 9. X sub 2 is 5. Sorry for messing up. Trying to get this done under 10 minutes, otherwise YouTube blocks it. So 5. And let's see, switching over to green, 6, which is y sub 1, x sub 1 is 5. We'll simplify that to being 9 minus 6, and then 5 minus 5, no double negatives. So 9 minus 6 is 3, and 5 minus 5 is 0. So anytime you have 0 under the line, it's considered undefined. And that little catchphrase was actually made by a former student. So notice that we have a U there. So anytime you have a vertical line like that, all vertical lines are considered to have an undefined slope. Thanks for viewing.